Twitter especially obsesses over UI and design and things that are tangible and visible, right? But what I've yet to see is something with like an AI quality assurance testing bot that can go in and literally click around like a human, and find every single like dead end and all of that. To me, like that's where we need to get to before any of these AI solutions are going to be like production ready, right?
But I've been using Google Anti-Gravity for that. And when I, like 6 months ago, when we were vibe coding together here, like we still had to like push something, test it locally, click ourselves and say, oh, this button doesn't work. Now Google Anti-Gravity just opens a new tab, starts clicking around, takes a screen record and puts that into the implementation plan of like, hey, here's what I did. I tested it and here's a screen recording. How much more do we need?
Mm.
I guess AI is eating up software and SaaS, etc. I even read this week that some people think operating systems are not secure either. Imagine you buy a new device and it has no operating system, and through conversation with your device, you slowly build your own customized OS. It doesn't seem impossible when people are already one-shotting Windows XP using
Mm.
Claude Opus.
Like I like that you say operating system because that's very much what I'm looking into now, and also sort of a realization where 2024 was basically productize yourself, right? This was the whole thing in the solopreneur and like the service industry of like you got to productize yourself and teach people like through courses and through other ways to to transfer your skills. But now I believe like you can basically OS yourself, operating system, like figure out what's your operating system. And that's not only in terms of business, but also your life, right? You can literally create a whole operating system around yourself, plug in all the data points from your work, different projects that you're working on, from your health, from your notebook. All of these things can be put into one operating system, a central brain, and with an OpenClaw, you can connect it all. Basically, what I've been trying to build for myself now is what my virtual server. That's the folder. Learning a lot on Twitter about note taking and rack systems and how to make memory work and connect all of those dots. And then you can literally go from a note in Telegram to your OpenClaw, working through it, checking out your memory of what does that node have to do with previous things that you've done, or finding correlations. And at a certain point, if you take your data seriously and you collect it correctly and you sort it correctly, then we've never seen this in history where you can have so much knowledge about yourself or about projects that you've been working on or whatever. But the most important thing is that thing, data structure and data architecture. And that's where it's going to come back to. Same in business, same in like corporations. Customized AI integrations are basically key. And that's what I'm focusing on now as well, is all these businesses. There's so many businesses that have been going through digitization project, like a whole trajectory of digitizing their operations. There's many businesses that have been around for 20 years. They have their clients. Over the past 10 years, they had to go through a whole trajectory of getting their manual processes online and the cloud to go over and everything in the cloud. But now, if they don't start using AI, they're going to get left behind as well. Or at least they're not going to get the revenues and the productivity that they could have. And I think that's what Mark Cuban is pointing to. They have so much data, but they don't do much with it. Or they have so many manual processes still, but they don't know how to map those processes. And if you don't have processes mapped, you don't really know what you can automate. And there's still a human in the loop required to do that. Like you cannot send an AI into a company and say, okay, who's working on what process? Who's doing what? Who is doing what? And I think that's a huge opportunity.
What about you? I know you were toying with maybe kind of going into this path, and I'm curious, in Belgium, like have you explored that or have you thought about that? Because to me, that just revalidates it, right? Like, dude, I think that would be an amazing opportunity to go into.
Yeah, I've actually have a call right after this one with a friend. He runs a short form content agency, and we are in discussions of like how we can help them implement AI for getting better at what they do, to make their team more productive, to do also the analytics layer better. Because right now there is a bunch of tools that, like this is the way we look at it. They serve a client, which are quite big clients, but then they have to do everything from content creation to then the analytics to running ads to then retargeting and all of that stuff. But it's all very scattered. It's different tools and there's different people in the loop and there's different briefings that have to be sent around to UGC creators and all of that stuff. So we're looking like, okay, how we can map the processes how we can make them more productive, how we can get better outputs, but also how we can reuse content and add a analytics layer to it, where everything still starts like brands want to see humans, right? So brands don't want to go and jump on AI faces straight away. You cannot jump on, like, you cannot create AI content if you have a beauty brand, for example. So it all starts with human content, but then the extra layer is the tracking of the content and then rating which content does well, repurposing that through AI. And that can be done through video, through newsletters, through pictures, and then like the ball gets rolling. So that's what we are exploring now, but that's just one side. I think for those companies, there is some other value to be offered, and that could be helping their team stay up to date with the latest tools. Many of those companies have Google Suite, for example, but they've never used AI Studio, Google AI Studio, or they've never used Notebook LM, right? They're just using Gemini or email. I think personally that one other opportunity could be that just giving bi-weekly workshops to internal teams. That's another thing that I think could be very valuable to make teams more productive and work with the tools they already have. Because you don't want to have these companies or those people start using new tools, because then you're just adding friction on friction on friction. Like, you gotta make them more productive with the tools that they already have, because every time you introduce something new, it's gonna be a pain in the ass for everyone. So I think those are the two. Yeah, I'm now in discussion with the content one. There's another one that I'm thinking about, but that's a bit more challenging, where like if there are real systems, like bigger systems already implemented, you got to figure out like it's the open data versus closed data, which is similar to the content one, right? Where you have meta ads, which is pretty closed data platform. So you cannot just pull meta ads data into your dashboard. You still need to use different tools, but there must be ways to make life easier for the people behind those buttons. You don't need multiple people in the whole process. I think you can get to a point where you can link a lot of things together, and you need one smart data marketeer that then can pull together the right data and then say, okay, this is a top 5 performing piece of content. We're going to reproduce this. And then it's just a few clicks and boom, gets reproduced, and it's an automation and all of that stuff. And then it gets tested again. But thanks to AI, you can test everything super fast, and you can create hundreds pieces of copy, 100 pieces of visuals, like you guys know pretty well, right? Especially Luke, I think that's been your business. So yeah, that's basically what we're focusing on right now. The
Cool.
last thing to mention there is the hardest part is I'm talking now to a friend, old classmate, our age, but it's not easy to talk to legacy businesses to convince them to say, hey, you're going to need AI. They are going to need AI, and they're going to need AI and automations, and they need to map their processes, but they don't care. Even though their business is gonna break if they leave the business or if they want to sell it. Like, their business is not going to be worth as much as it is now if they're going to sell their business, because they are the key person. So automation and AI and a good operating system for the business is the solution.